Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Nonsense, Fun and Games and Other Stuff.
Yele!
Yele.
It's my turn. I have a game.
Brazilian footballer Yele?
We are playing a quiz game, and I just realized that Raph is actually very good at knowing footballer names, and I have nothing. I'm just making
You should probably
sounds.
explain more specifically that we occasionally play like a video game.
Yeah,
where
we just started playing it.
Get asked quiz questions. This is not for the podcast or anything. That's just, fun and games do not stop just after the recording.
Okay, this is Fun and Games, and today I'm gonna try to see if I can be a good salesperson.
Yes, last week we watched Night at the Museum, and on the podcast, if you have listened, you might know that Ludovica is very passionate about museums, whereas I'm interested,
I like museums because I'm a nerd.
Okay, so Big Nerd is gonna try and tell me which museums I should go to.
Yes, so this is kind of like a memory lane of my favorite museums because I'm going to start in chronological order from which was my favorite museum.
Wait. You're starting with your favorite?
No, it's like my favorite museum growing up, and then I go, should I start with not my favorite?
Yeah, you start with your least favorite, and then the final one is the most... the biggest recommendation.
I'm gonna have to rearrange everything then, because I was doing it chronologically while I was growing up and experienced museums.
Okay, well, that's a way of doing it too.
I have a nice one at the end though, so it's
a big showstopper.
Yes.
Okay.
So, when I was growing up, I was very into mummies and more I was very into mummification. And so the first museum that I want to try to sell to you is the Egyptian Museum in Turin. And they have a lot of collections of just sarcophagi and mummies and all the vases in which they put the organs and all the figurines and so I think that they also have other things, but I didn't pay attention to them so much. But they have a lot of stuff mummy related. And
now you grew up in Italy, not quite in Turin, but not too far away from it.
No, I went there with the school trip.
Right.
I was so excited, and then the people, my classmates mocked me because we went to McDonald's and I wanted the filet of fish, and I thought it was a very lame choice.
Yeah.
And they ruined my dream day.
My question is, as someone who doesn't remotely live near Turin, is it worth the trip? Do you spend, a day traveling to get there, and then you see all these old Egyptian things, and is that really a reason to do it?
Well, I think that Turin has a lot to offer museum-wise because there are also palaces for because the royalty in Italy used to live there. And so there is a very nice Versailles-like palace, so you can make a day out of exploring the museum scene in Turin. But
but my point is, was it convenient that you lived in Italy and therefore that's why you went there?
No, it's actually a very famous and well-regarded museum.
Okay.
And has a very good collection for people that didn't colonize anything.
How come Italians have all these old Egyptian things?
No, we are geeking on it. Probably it's just I actually don't know the story of how it works. But for some weird reason, we are second only to the Brits and the Egyptians.
All right. What else do you have? At the end of this list, I'm going to tell you which museums I'm going to go to.
Okay. The second one is also one that is related to proximity, and it's the Technology and Science Museum in Milan. It has a very nice spot in my heart because we went there with the school, of course, and we see all these technological machines, and it's a little bit interactive, but not too much. You just see the history of human how do you say, human ingenuity and how they build things. And there is, of course, a very big spot for Leonardo da Vinci because we had him in Italy.
We had him.
Yes. And but there is like a super big room full of locomotives, and another mega big room full of like airplanes, and there is also a sheep, and you can see all these things.
Sheep?
A sheep.
Oh, okay.
Like a boat.
Back to farm animals.
And it's like it's just so interesting. And actually, I'm not into technology museums, but that one is very, very well done because I went back as an adult and it's still like hold to its.
How about linguistic barriers if you don't speak Italian?
Oh, there might be.
Is there any guides or anything in English, maybe?
We are not very English forward in Italy, so I think that probably like the like in every museum the plaques are in both languages.
Okay.
But going to the third museum, that it's an open air museum. It's the Roman Forum, and you can go and explore the Roman Forum, and you can have like guides.
In what way is that the third museum? Is it like on your list?
Yes, it's the third museum on my list. And it's an open air museum, but you can you have the entrance, you have a guide, there is a path, and you see all the ruins.
Where is this technology museum?
The technology museum is in Milan.
Okay.
And now we move to Rome because we're following my growth path.
These are the stations in your life.
Yes.
Quattro stagioni.
Yes. So
it's the open Roman Forum. What is it?
Museum. It's an open air museum.
Okay.
And there you can go and you see all the ruins. There is an entrance, there is a path, and and in every ruin you have your plaque that says the stories, and it's both in Italian and English, and you can have the audio guide. So
this is in Rome.
Yes, that's.
So what are the lines like?
The lines
outside of the museum.
So for this museum, there is not a big line because there is also a free part. So there is less well conserved ruins. There is a wild line to if you want to go into the Colosseum, but there are people outside. You can spot them. So if you don't have already a reservation, you can just buy a reservation from them for double the price or triple the price.
Scalpers is what you're talking about.
Yes, this is how it works.
Don't worry. Oh yeah, it's Italy.
Yes, because otherwise the line is super long.
Yeah, we went to Versailles.
Yeah.
This year, and
there weren't any though.
Well, we didn't make a reservation, and we really could have thought of that. We just didn't think about it, and we went there, and they were like, "Do you have a reservation?" We're like, "No, we need a ticket," and they were like, "Well, you can't get one. Fuck off."
In Italy, it doesn't work like that. There's always somebody outside that's gonna sell you the tickets.
Okay.
But it's it was our first vacation together, and I panicked. Next time, I'm gonna be more prepared, and I'm gonna plan all the journey with you.
So the Roman Forum, old broken down buildings that you can visit for the triple the price.
You get a very nice walk, and you imagine yourself being a Roman, and there are many wild cats living there, so that's also a bonus point.
Stray cats.
Stray
cats. Like in Aristocats.
Yes.
Nice.
The next one is actually my favorite museum ever.
Okay.
And it's the Natural History Museum in London. It's starting from the building, it's amazing because it's an ancient building, but instead of gargoyles, you have just different animals in place of the statues that would be gargoyles or angels. So you just have animals, and then there are so many dinosaurs bones and everything, and there are extinct animals bones everywhere, and there is a statue of Charles Darwin, and there is
now not worrying about accuracy, how similar is it to the depiction of the Natural History Museum in Night at the Museum?
I think it's not super similar because it doesn't have the cultural component with all the people.
Okay.
It's more about animals.
Okay.
There is a big area about just the earth and how it works, and the forces of the earth. There is a earthquake simulator in which you step on this on this platform and starts waving, and you can see like the images from its earthquake in Japan in the meantime, and so you can just
This
like
is like the freak out room. Okay.
and
Wait, what does that have to do with natural history? Is it like tectonics? Like, what
yes,
is
it's
it?
just like this is the Earth, it's
Okay.
the planet Earth region, and there is also I think an outer space region, but I get a bit overwhelmed in museum with many people, so I just stick to the places that I like best.
Okay.
The next one is still in London, and probably for many people it's not technically a museum, but I consider it a museum. It's a London Zoo.
Okay.
It's very nice. You see many animals, and it has a very big, like when you go and read information about the animals, it also has a very big highlights on how like conservation efforts and let's say what they are studying there and like the biology of the animals. So it's very science-driven museum.
Okay.
And
Oh, you used to be a biologist professionally, so you might have a slightly different approach to biology and anything that teaches us about biology than like your layman, such as myself. So do you think that some of the things that appeal to you about that zoo are actually things that wouldn't really appeal to me or people in general?
Well, you can learn a lot about like animals, and if you want, you can also learn about conservation.
Okay.
And I know that you are against zoo. I worked in a zoo, like not like as doing my biology research. The monkeys that I was working with in my master's there, they lived in the zoo in Rome, and I think that like zoos are still like a good educational tool, but there's certainly they need to be less of them. But the London Zoo is it's wonderful.
Is the London Zoo in London?
Yes, but it's in Regents, so it's a bit farther away from the city center.
Okay.
The next two museums are in Paris. So the first one is the Louvre, and there are a lot of statues, and I really like statues, and they're Greek. Greeks were very good in making marble seem soft when they were making fabric. I would just stay there looking at how soft it looks.
Now we saw at the Dorsey, we saw a lot of Rodin's,
Yeah.
which is probably like one of the most famous marble sculptors that isn't from the ancient times. So like, what is...
Well, I do think that Canova is also pretty famous.
What is the... Well, in Italy maybe. What is the appeal of like going to the Louvre on top of already having seen the statues in the Dorsey? Like, what is better about it?
You can see a neoclassical sculptor, but then you get a bit curious to see like, oh, well, if it's neoclassical, let's see the classics.
Okay.
But also the thing is that then you have many more like rooms of just ancient things that French brought back from their conquests and their wars.
Yeah.
So there are like an Assyrian room and stuff like that. And then there are paintings, like there is like this famous Mona Lisa and things like that. So it's like very varied. So if you have to spend a day in a museum because like it rains or stuff, it's definitely you have a lot of things.
Final question on the Louvre. Lines outside seems to be the most famous Parisian museum.
It's
like,
pretty long,
Okay.
but it's in the glass pyramid, so you can
at least see
like,
weird
feel
architecture.
like you're Dan Brown. Yeah. So,
Okay.
And the second to last museum on my list is in Paris too. It's called the Quai Branly. It's a museum of indigenous cultures. It's very weird.
Are you sure it's called the Crema Brûlée?
Quai Branly.
Okay.
Branly. It's the Quai Branly. It's a museum of indigenous cultures. So you see a lot of like artifacts and just things from places very far away in the world. And I haven't traveled much outside of Europe, so it's nice to see like things from far away.
Is it historical or is it just like we went to Japan and got like a vending machine?
No, it's historical.
Okay. So a samurai sword maybe.
Yes, but it's also like it's just a it's a bit of a hodgepodge, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's just a fun experience, and the museum itself, it's very nice. Like the architecture that it's built in, and it has like a forest wall, and it's just like a nice place to be.
Now, one of the things you've been doing across this entire video is you've been saying the things that you really like about the museum. Name at least one thing that's in this museum that would specifically appeal to me.
Well, we would end up making very like the racist comments that will arise from the view in this museum will be amusing to us.
So I should go there to enjoy the racism of it all.
Yes.
Okay. And what is the final and most important?
Well, it's not the most important, but it's just to end in glory. It's the British Museum. It's also in London, and it's like a celebration of colonization efforts.
They also have mummies.
But yes, but they're just like, this is the point. Why do you have to go to an Egyptian museum? Because then you get so much focalized on mummies and a lot of knowledge on mummies. While in the British Museum, you're just like, oh yes, and there are mummies here, but there are also
Don't
so
they have
many
like the
other
Rosetta Stone?
things. Yes,
like they have some fancy stuff.
Exactly, they have so many other things that are not mummies that you can go there and see.
Yeah.
And so they have the Rosetta Stone, and they have the Parthenon decoration, so that they just strip off of it, and it's also a nice like museum to be in, because it has like a courtyard inside, and it has a vault that is glass, and the lines are not too bad, and it's just a cool place to go and explore and see ancient things that the Brits took from their travels.
Yes,
and
a lot of theft on display.
Yes, it's
All
just
right.
like, let's go see what they got, and you make a day out of it.
All right. So I have written down all the museum suggestions. I
Yes.
count 8 here.
Yes, there are 8.
Now, the Egyptian Museum in Torino,
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. That's one of the oldest civilizations that we have relics from. So
Yeah, and there are hieroglyphs also. Hieroglyphs, a lot of hieroglyphs.
hieroglyphs,
Hieroglyph.
hieroglyphs.
Hieroglyphs.
So maybe that's worth a visit if I'm in Torino. Anyway, I've been to Torino actually, and so, but I looked at like that weird shrine that's there.
Oh,
and
I
all
have
this
never been
religious
there.
shit. So maybe it's time to actually look at some historical
Turin
stuff.
is a lovely city, people. Everybody, like, please go. It's so nice.
right,
It's underrated.
The Tech Museum in Milan is not making the cut. If I'm gonna go to a tech museum, I have one in my own country. It's like an hour
No,
from
it's
here.
way better than the
Oh.
Technorama.
I'm not gonna go to Milano just to learn about human ingenuity in Italian. I don't think so. Open Roman Forum.
Boobity.
Open Roman Forum. I'm not someone who is that interested in ruins, so I don't think I'm gonna look at broken down buildings.
Stray cats.
What?
Stray cats.
Yeah, but you just go to Rome for that.
Yeah, that's
it's not
true.
the appeal of the museum.
Okay.
In fact, you can go to any poor country and you get the stray cats. Natural History Museum in London. I would go to just for the earthquake simulator.
Not for the dinosaur bones. They also have a reconstruction of a T-Rex that moves, but there are a lot of kids in that room always. There is a statue of Charles Darwin. There is a huge ammonite.
Wow, a statue of a man. That's a very rare thing.
There is a huge ammonite.
No, I think a lot of what you're saying is like, like fossils are fascinating, but I don't need to really see them because what they represent is something a long time ago. So it's like,
But it's like You can learn so many things. They write you like about like, oh, this is how the velociraptor lived, or this is how they lay eggs, and they
Look, I
had
said I was going to go
feathers.
for the earthquake room, and now you ruined that for me as well. We're not going.
Oh no!
The London Zoo, we're not going. Zoos are
Yeah.
everywhere. I don't need to go to another zoo.
No.
The Louvre, we're not going because what you described is exactly the same as the d'Orsay. So, like, there's paintings and there's statues. Okay. We went to the one with the
They are from a
smaller line.
different time period.
Sure. But I don't really care because I think, modernist painting
But
and
they have
postmodernist
the
things are more
Nike
interesting. Anyway.
statue. So just do it.
Okay. The Quai Branly, your description of it was so bad, I don't remember what's in it, so we're not doing it. And the British Museum I've been to before, so I think, while I don't mind it, there's plenty of more new things to see, so we're not going back. Until we have seen all the other things that are more interesting.
Okay.
In London, there's also like the National Portrait Gallery, which I think is amazing.
No, they're just faces.
Yeah, but
and you don't learn anything.
have you ever tried to paint a face? It's like one of the most
But
difficult
they
things.
don't teach you how to paint faces, where you get
Well,
a lot of history information.
reason why
there are
I
a lot of
liked-
fun facts to get from a visit in the British
The reason why I
Museum.
like the National Portrait Gallery is specifically because they had a weird like draw along thing on that day. There were like pencils in the entrance, and you could just go and try and paint portraits. And everywhere you went, there were like people sitting and sketching
Yeah.
faces, and it was cool because it was encouraging people to be creative. And
Yes,
I like
but
that.
I like museums that give you fun facts.
Okay, so that's our museum extravaganza. I hope it was fun, even if it wasn't
I
really
hope
games.
that maybe you wanna go to some of these. If you wanna go to some of these museums, and if you have some museum suggestion for us, please leave that in the comments.
Why are you making a weird voice?
Because I'm excited. Like I wanna like people could actually write down what museum do they like, and I could go. I could learn things.
Leave your
I like-
recommendations down in the comments.
I like learning.
We'll be back next week with an episode on the Blues Brothers. Thank you for listening, and
Bye.